See you sneaking over there. Very sneaky.
Okay, I'll declare the meeting open. Thank you for your attendance. We have no one speaking in open forum today, so we'll go straight to the meeting. I'll remind councillors the meeting is being webcast, and you should refrain from making any defamatory statements. Would you join me, please, in the acknowledgement of country and the prayer? I acknowledge that we are meeting on the ancestral land of the Ngunnawal people. I recognise the Ngunnawal as the traditional custodians and pay respect to the elders of the community and their descendants. Let us be still and remember the presence of God. As we commence our meeting, let us together pray for guidance and help. Almighty God, we ask your blessing upon that direct and prosper our deliberations to the true welfare of Australia and the people of Yass Valley. Do we have any apologies? We have one, I think, from Councillor Abbey. I'd like to move the acceptance of Councillor Abbey's, Councillor Hoffer, Councillor any declarations of community interest or special disclosures? I might take the opportunity right now to welcome our new Director of Infrastructure and Assets, Nathan Cook. Nathan, I understand he started with council many years ago as a cadet. He's done the full circle now and come back to it. So I'd like to welcome you, Nathan.
Thank you.
I'm sure we all look forward to a very productive relationship over a long period of time. Welcome on behalf.
Yep.
Reports to council, 4.1.
I think before you do, Mr. Mayor, do we have to accept the late report?
Sorry.
Unfortunately, I think part of it.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, it's actually a supplementary report. It's not, unfortunately, the title doesn't come out that way when we print the papers. It's a supplementary report. You don't need to accept it into the meeting, but you should consider the content of that report when you're dealing with this item. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, we have a summary and recommendation.
Would you like the director to speak to it before debate?
Very good idea, thank you.
Okay, through you, Mr. Mayor. The operational plan has been developed through consultation with councillors and the leadership team of council. It has been quite a comprehensive process that we have undergone, and it was very useful having a workshop with council to give the staff direction and help set some priorities that we were debating internally. The delivery program for this year is only an amendment to the figures for estimated figures for 2023-24. The plan itself has not been changed, and the revenue statement is aligned with the operational plan. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Councillors?
Through Mr. Mayor, a question for the director. In our conversations with the community, the item of paper bill loan has come up, and questions have arisen about what reassurance does the community have that council has the ability to manage this project. So just what might be timely as we, it's a rather large item in our budget that we talk about that, and our capacity for the loan, because I understand a general loan has no funds in it, no loan funds in it as yet. And the price not being in the community before this time.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the council approved the borrowings of up to $50 million recently, and we have investigated, we went out for expression of interest to get value for money for that loan. And we have included it in the long-term financial plan as well as the current operational plan for 23-24. And we have also investigated reducing the interest payments and the in-principal payments by setting our investments against the borrowings as well as having the first 2 years as interest only and then renegotiating. We are able to reduce it by having funds against that loan, almost as a drawdown, as a offset. Thank you very much. Have an offset account, but they will actually be our investments, and they will remain in line with the policy, but they will enable us to provide a means of reducing those payments. And it has been forecast in the long-term financial plan, and at this point in time, we do not anticipate having to get a special rate variation for that loan in that project. In fact, we are actively seeking grants, and we will continue to do so for different stages of that project.
I see the request for the budget. It might be an opportunity for Nathan to flex in this space. Our roads have been hit quite dramatically since the August 22 and followed by September events. Now we have received or are going to receive, once we put in our claims for them, those emergency works. Talk to us about what's in the budget to address roads, and do you think this is sufficient for this year, or do you think we're going to anticipate the need to adjust the budget going forward?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So I've been speaking with my managers, and they're comfortable with what money has been allocated in the budget for next financial year. There is a good amount of gravel resheeting for our gravel roads. That on top of the DRFA funding, the emergency funding monies, I think, we're sitting in a pretty good place to be able to get our roads back into some sort of condition.
They're not anticipating, sorry.
No, you're right.
Anticipating a change in budget.
No.
Councillor Jones, any further questions? Councillor Campbell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. It's probably maybe this question has been answered by the Director of Finance already. We had a confidential meeting discussing the options that were presented in terms of the loan possibilities, etc. When can we start? I suppose I'm sort of saying, when does that confidentiality finish? Like, can we talk about the loan that we're getting at some stage in the near future, or do we have to wait until that loan is actually finalised? Because you mentioned something a minute ago about something being interest-free, and I just wanted to know that. Thanks.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, we have our first formal meeting with Westpac tomorrow.
Oh, good.
Once we get to a point where we're comfortable with the negotiations, then you've delegated the Mayor and General and CEO to sign off on that. At that point in time, we will do another report to Council, which will make it public.
I presume the way things are proceeding, that would probably be at the next meeting?
We're hoping so, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Through Mr. Mayor, just adding to that, the financial institutions being that was part of Council's decision, so everyone knows it's Westpac Bank.
Yeah.
And it's an up to $50 million loan.
Yeah.
Subject to the negotiations going through. So that's already public knowledge.
Yeah.
But
has been
the details are not at this stage because there's still a period of negotiation, yes.
Okay. Just wanted to firm that up. Sorry.
Any further questions? Yes, Councillor.
Got a number? Yes, got a number. Okay. The first question I have, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to direct to the CEO, if I can, please. For the 23-24 budget, council has had input in April prior to this budget being presented in council. I'm looking to the future that for 24-25, could consideration be given to consultation with councillors, beginning simultaneously with staff discussions and widen to include community input at the same time?
Through Mr. Mayor, one of the things that we've noted through the experience of this year is that we need to start earlier. So we're looking at November 2024 to produce the next budget, and certainly we will be putting more opportunities in there for both staff and councillors to have input into a draft budget. In the community associations are often providing us with advance notice of the sort of things that they've been looking at or would like to see. So that will be part of the melting pot as part of the process. And then, of course, once we've got a draft budget, we do have to formally exhibit them. And there's another opportunity for the wider community, councillors and council staff to have input into the budget before it's finalised. So yes, we had a slow start this year. The team have been working absolutely flat out to try and get this to tonight's meeting. There's been a few little hiccups along the way, but I think we've managed to get ourselves into a reasonably good position for these to be exhibited. And then there's another round of considering any submissions that come in before we actually finalise the budget process. I would say that looking at the timeframes, that's probably going to be at the briefing session in terms of considering submissions that come in prior to the council meeting. So you'll have the report which will examine, the staff will examine the issues raised in the submissions and make recommendations about each of them. And then you'll have an opportunity to have a informal discussion of those at the briefing session prior to making the final decision. But yeah, the next budget, we plan to start much sooner, and if that means more workshops and more engagement, so be it. I think it's circumstances got away from us this year.
Two questions for the Director of Finance, please, through you, Mr. Mayor, if I can, please. The first one, I noticed that in March 2023, it was stated that the interest, that the interest for 2022-23 on our Yass Valley Council's current 4 loans was $732,220. That was the interest on the 4 loans for water and sewage. But the long-term financial plan, the interest is stated for the forthcoming year to be $446,000. I suppose I'm asking, how can this be? Because are we paying off some of the principal? Are we getting lower costs for our loans, or I see an inconsistency there? First question.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I can refer you to the updated supplementary report, which has new long-term financial plans in it.
Right.
And the figures have been corrected,
Good.
and they represent the correct borrowings now.
So what do we have for?
So for 23-24, we have 3.7 million, and this is in total, and it goes up to 4.2, etc., etc.
So the figures have been adjusted.
You're on page 13, the supplementary report. Page 13.
Thank you very much. Okay. Second question for the Director of Finance for you, Mr. Mayor, please. The other day I mentioned that the Growing Regions program totalling $600 million has just been announced by the Commonwealth Government with an upper limit per grant of $15 million, which could contribute to the Crago Mill precinct. The question I have is it worth considering engaging a specialist consultant with a proven track record in large grants to maximise our chance of receiving a grant for the full 15 million. Thank you.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I have not had an opportunity to look at that grant criteria yet, and that's a decision that we'll look at that time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Through you, Mr Mayor, we do have project managers for the Craig Mill precinct. They've got broad skills. We can certainly talk with them about an appropriate skill set in terms of assisting us with preparing grant applications.
Through you, Mr Mayor, yeah, I'll just make the comment that the 15 million would go a long way in providing the Craig Mill development. So it's really quite important that if we can get as much as we can.
Sure. Further questions? Councillor Cameron.
I need to
Rise.
No, I told you how many I was doing. This is for the Director of Infrastructure, and considering that you're new, the Chief Executive Officer might like to jump in if you're not familiar with this particular problem. I noticed that in the budget, the green waste removal from Yass transfer station, there's 420,000 allocated, as I understand, to remove accumulated green waste that has been sitting there for some period of time. And that's probably going to go to landfill from previous questions. What considerations have been given to alternative options, if there are any? Because I remember that green waste used to be finely processed and recycled and sold as mulch. Could there be a better alternative for even finally processing this material and even giving it away? Would be better than it going to landfill. Thank you.
Yes, through you, Mr Mayor, sorry, I haven't got across this one as yet, but I can definitely take on notice and come back to you with a response.
Thank you for that. Okay. One more. Through you, Mr Mayor, to the Director of Finance, that's 3 for you. Can councillors have the budget figures for the cost of workers' compensation insurance for 2023 and 2024? And how does this compare with 2022 and 2023, which I realise hasn't been completed? I'm suppose I'm asking this question because I'm sort of asking what impact is expected from the implementation of the strategic plan, I think, from the Workplace Health and Safety Report presented to Council in late 2022 on future workers' compensation costs.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I don't have the figures at hand, but I can tell you that $250,000 was included in the WHS budget, from which last year we only had $20,000 on that line.
Yeah.
So we've got $250,000, and I will be bringing a report to the next council meeting, the May council meeting, regarding the update of that improvement plan.
Thank you very much.
We have a manager in that area.
Yeah, I realise that, and it'll be beneficial.
Yeah.
Councillor Parker.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I just wanted to make the comment to say a huge thank you to all the staff involved in preparing these documents, and even the opportunity that we had with the workshop to ask questions. To me, this is like an elephant, this whole thing. It's so big and complicated. It's not, I guess, a background I come from, but I really appreciate the documentation and the time to ask questions, and the workshops that we've done and the conversations that we've had before we've got here. And I just want to say that we have the most amazing team of people working under the director, including the director, to bring it to this point. Because to me, if I had to do something like this, I'd be completely, like, it just blows my head. So thank you very much, and yeah, congratulations.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. Councillor Tan.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Through you to the Director. 31, 32. We have effectively a $9 million gain from the disposal of assets. I know I've been missing from a few meetings. Can you elaborate on what we're disposing of in 31, 32?
I don't have that with me, but we did talk about that in the confidential discussion that we had with councillors, and I'm happy to brief you on that.
Any further questions? Yeah, someone like to move the recommendation? Councillor Turner, seconded Councillor Jones. I'll put the motion, all those in favour?
Whoa, hold on.
Oh, okay.
I thought I was going to
Question
raise
time prior.
Thank you, Councillor Jones.
Through
We wanted a quick meeting today.
I know. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I did want to say, thank you to our staff for putting this document together. And all of the contributions from the tiers of management. I think that's been a success, and thank you, Director, for putting that into play. I wanted to stress the importance of this budget in setting up success for a couple of projects. Namely the Crago Mill precinct, which is my understanding now. And so our next steps are to secure the loan, and that's essentially our green light. Lock in the budget, loan provisions, lock in the loan itself, and the DA approval. This is a wonderful step that this council is doing. I want to acknowledge the work of previous councils in bringing us to this point for this project. It's going to be a generational project, and the loan is the perfect way to do this so that one generation is not burdened with this project, but it spans many, many years, and we all reap the benefits over those years. Our community has been lacking a distinctive entrance to our town for quite some time. This will be a wonderful lead for our community in terms of how the presentation of our town looks. I think it will set the tone for the rest of our main street, and noting that the master plan being Yass Main Street, the first steps of that is in our budget that we're putting out for our public exhibition tonight. I don't just want to focus on Yass. I want to stress that Murray Bateman has some significant projects coming up in this budget, notwithstanding the amenities block, the $2 million project there, with some excellent funding from the state government in there, but also the planning for the playground there. And this is a community absolutely brimming with children, and we really have a wonderful opportunity to engage our community in that project. And as we see in this document, and I hope the community gets a chance to really look at what's actually happening in all the other villages, in terms of master planning, playground for Byalong, we've really looked at keeping the budget sensible, but also spreading all of that love for our budget across the villages and Yass itself and our growing community of Murray. So I commend the work that's done, and look forward to seeing this community play the next year.
Thank you, Councillor Jones. Anyone else? No? I'll put the motion in. All those in favour? Those against, declare the motion carried. 4.2, variation of the tender. Rehabilitation project. There's a recommendation. Councillor Popham, moving the recommendation. Councillor Burgess, seconded. Any discussion? I'll put the motion in. All those in favour? Those against, declare the motion carried.
We dealt with 4.3.
Yes. Full moment. Okay, so that concludes the meeting, and unless someone's got something else to say, late item, in which case I won't allow it.
Is that there 4.3?
4.3 was dealt with as part
Part one.
It's
Gotcha.
It's the clarification of some of the issues.
Yes,
that
yeah.
we've identified.
I thought it was separate.
Okay, if you're all happy, I'll declare the meeting closed. Thank you very much for your attendance. You may now go home.
Sean,